Hello, Internet!
No, I should say welcome to a tribute to
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's!
Five Nights at Freddy's!
So many of you bros have suggested this game.
Now get off my screen, this is my video.
Hello? Hello?
You have probably heard about FNAF and even played it, and if you do not know, where have you been on the internet? We're going to skip the introduction, so let's dive right into the first game. You are the night guard of the pizzeria, where Freddy and the gang goof around. You already know, Freddy the Fredbear, Chica the Chicken, Bonnie the Blue Rabbit, and Foxy the Cupcake. Just joking, he's a fox of course. In FNAF 1,
the animatronic characters here do get a bit quirky at night.
the funny thing is that this was an actual sentence said by a guy in the game. In case you don't know, the animatronics are Freddy, Chica and so on, and they are robots with special endoskeletons, and the reason why they exist is the entertainment of the guests during the day shift. The goal in this and many other games is to survive those particular 5 nights. Why? Because at night these robots try to enter your office and do unholy things to you. You can protect yourself with the help of 2 doors, which are located to your left and to your right side. You also have some cameras to look at almost every room in the pizzeria, and lights if the animatronics are standing next to your doors. And some general information about the games. They get progressively harder throughout the nights. The first night is oftentimes just a tutorial. Oh! I forgot to mention that you also have a battery that slowly loses power. You can use your doors, lights or camera system in order to protect yourself. But all that drains your energy even more. It's like a ticking time bomb. If your energy runs out, like it did right now, Freddy will be coming to your place and will be doing this. And then, for a short time, there's nothing. You can literally hear the nothingness in the room. And notice how that makes you even more nervous. He can attack you anytime. And then suddenly he jumpscares you, which won't happen today.
Oh, I did it!
Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is the second installment in the Five Nights at Freddy's series. You are a night guard, again, and try to survive those 5 faithful nights. Instead of doors, you have a vent to your left and one to your right. And a huge walkway to your goddamn office. Like come on, a whole car could fit right in there. Fortunately, you can protect yourself with a Freddy mask. Worth mentioning, the team is even bigger. This time we have the old ones from the first game in some weird room together. And the new edition gang. Freddy, Bonnie and Chica. Where's Foxy, you might ask? We have Mango. He, she, I don't know. MatPat? Anyways, it can stick on the ceiling and doesn't kill you right away.
Was that the bite of 87?
No. Balloon Boy is here just to drain your juicy battery, and then there is the marionette. So you have to actively wind up a music box so that this robot won't get to your office. As you can see, there are some improvements here and there, but there is still a big hole in your wall. For the first time, we get introduced to the lore a bit.
More dead children, and thanks to another of the death minigames, we find out exactly what happened to them. In the Help Them minigame, the puppet stuffs the dead children into the robotic suits, giving their souls new life.
Jeez, couldn't I say that? Not only dead children's souls and stuff like that, but there's actually a murderer referred to as Purple Guy. Sometime later, we found out that his name is William Afton, one of the 2 founders of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. In this game there is no direct fatal consequence when running out of energy, but let's continue with the next game. Welcome to the game which only has one main villain, animatronic human. Actually at this point these 3 things are combined into a pot of weirdness which Scott Cawthon is brewing. Springtrap is now the one you should be worrying about. Inside of this animatronic suit is actually Purple Guy, aka William Afton. But we also found last game out that he died in that suit due to a spring lock failure. Just for people who don't understand. And I try to be as accurate as possible. The suit was once a bright yellow suit which could be worn by humans and robots. A so-called endoskeleton, endo is Latin for inside, There are spring locks inside the suit, which are necessary in order to have some space for a human. Those spring locks can fail when operating in a moist, wet surrounding. By the way, I searched up spring locks and I guess Scott made that up. So William Afton tried hiding from the souls of the children. He killed and put on that suit in a hidden room, which was unfortunately wet. You can guess by now how he died. Those spring locks, which as mentioned, keep the suit suitable. They return to their initial position when failing, implying that if a human was inside, he would be crushed within the suit and become one with the robot. Now that happened to Mr. Afton, and if I remember correctly, he was stuck in that room for 30 years straight, and now he's still alive. Are you proud, MatPat? I hope you are. Back to the actual game. You play as a night guard again. Like seriously, come on man. This time it's not a pizzeria. It's more like a horror attraction with real antique artifacts from the Fazbear Pizzeria. If you have already forgotten, it's now 30 years later. And somehow Springtrap is inside that attraction with you. You have no defense systems anymore. No doors, no lights, no masks, no nothing. The only way you can prevent him from getting to your office is by using the soundboard, which is integrated into your camera system. You can lure him to different places in the whole building with the sounds of children. Jeez, the catch is that this system is very shabby. All of your equipment is damn cheap, because it all breaks down by the blink of an eye. One moment you're just chilling in your office, and the next there's a problem with the ventilation, with the cameras and with the soundboard. We can all agree that some of the tech will break down eventually, right? But fixing the goddamn ventilation system 10 times a night is not normal. And not to forget that there are ghosts. Balloon Boy, Marionette and the crew do exist and can jump scare, but not kill you.
Okay, so the first night is never usually that bad in any of the games, so I'll play through.
Welcome to a game, which can be perfectly described as a child's worst nightmare. In FNAF 4, you play inside your house. Okay, play is a weird word when you consider that surviving 5 nights with monsters in your room doesn't sound very joyful. It still has the basic mechanics of doors, which can be shut, but it's completely changed up. The OG team is back, but in a nightmare version. No, like for real, Scott named them Nightmare Freddy and so on. They have too many teeth and look really terrifying. You can check your doors with your flashlight and watch out if one of these things approaches your room or not. This time the noise around you is extremely important. Because if you hear something breathing when standing next to a door, do not turn on the flashlight. The monster is next to you. I love how this game is a perfect example of the worst nightmare you can imagine as a child. And there's a big chunk of
Guys, the lore!
In that game. To this day, people are not quite sure what's actually the real lore behind this game. Some say it is the nightmare of a child which spends his last days in a coma at a hospital because of an incident in the pizzeria.
Was that the bite of 87?
Some say that the game revolves around an experiment on a child in Furthermore. You choose yours, that's not my job. And to add on another fun fact, you could boop Freddy's nose and also boop the subscribe button. Okay, this was terrible. This is not the 5th game of the franchise, because FNAF World existed, but it got taken down, I guess. Now we get to an all-new experience, even for me. Sister Location is a completely different game. This time you are in a weird facility with a bunch of other animatronics. I don't even know their name, to be honest. Sorry. Those 5 nights are not survive in your office type of work anymore. It's more like a real job. Go there, fix that, watch after them and check their functionality. This is a turning point for the franchise because we get some lore and clues, but can't figure out their meanings before playing the next games. But why Sister Location? This probably sounds dumb, as you might be thinking.
It's called Sister Location because it's the sister location to Freddy Fazbear's
But it's also named Sister Location because the whole plot is that you need to locate your sister. You play as Michael Afton, trying to find Elizabeth Afton, your sister.
You walking down the street, all his neighbors outside waving to his ass. Oh my god.
This game set a new tone for the franchise. In the day shift, it comes across as an ordinary restaurant simulator, but that all changes when the night shift starts in your office. Then we have the good old Freddy gameplay that we know just with the vent. But wait, there's no way to close them. There's no light. There's nothing! You feel like being served on a silver platter for the first time in the series. You have to stay quiet at all times and also manage some restaurant manager stuff like printing flyers, you know, the good old manager stuff. Oh yes, and something funny too. Sometimes your low quality computer has ads. Those are damn loud when your only goal is to stay quiet. There's no clock. The night ends when you have finished all of your tasks. Scott added some funny features too, like your little helping hand Helpy, which helps you with court cases. Yes, you heard me right. You can be sued.
What?
The coolest feature of this game is that by the end of the night shift you have the option to test animatronics which have been found on the street. What makes this even cooler is that by choosing to throw them away, you can have very peaceful nights with zero animatronics. Yes, that is totally possible. Okay. This can't happen in the game. I just haven't paid my electricity bill.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy!
This is a game that I don't understand, but apparently it was made. Imagine all FNAF games before and put them into one. The only lore aspect about this game is that it should represent hell or some type of doom. All the characters are here and even more. Watching someone playing that game is like seeing Maxor for the first time. 100 things happen at the same time. Nothing really special happens though. To keep it briefly, this is the VR game of the franchise. The 4 OG games are there and even some extra stuff. We do get a new sneak peek into the new antagonist. That rabbit over there. But as we are already used to when it comes to FNAF, we can only understand who and what that is by simply focusing and using every little brain cell in our body to crack the lore open. I don't do that. It gets much too complex at this point, so I would recommend watching some of his videos after this video in order to have some understanding. Ah yes, speaking of which, make sure to like this video if you actually gotten this far. This is good, this is good. And now welcome to the next big step in the FNAF franchise. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach is a 2021 first-person survival horror game developed by Steel Wool Studios and published by Scott Games. I promise this one is completely different to any other games. And you have heard, it's a first-person survival horror. You mean you can walk around freely for the first time and you are not a night guard anymore. You are a child named Gregory and trapped in this massive building. And instead of 5 nights, as the title would suggest, there's just one long night. The animatronics that appear in this game are also something special. Glamrock Freddy, Glamrock Chica. 2 we already know, they got a renewed version. And there's Monty the Gator and Roxanne the Wolf. Of course, there are more characters, but I simply can't name them all. Back to Gregory. You're in that Pizzaplex, just a very big mall where everything is themed around the Freddy's Cruise franchise. But to your surprise, Freddy's not evil like in all the other games. This time he's helping you actively, because you can climb inside of that robot like in Titanfall. That definitely sounds weird, but you know what I meant with that reference. You roam through the Pizzaplex and try to get out of that building without being noticed by the animatronics. Let's try to look at this through the eyes of a child. Imagine you were in such position. You were in such a nice big place. I would definitely go eat something and sleep somewhere nicely and wait till the building reopens in the next morning to get out. Or simply exit by the emergency exit. which every big place like this one must have, by the way. And yeah, I understand walking through one can come with a hefty fine. But it would not be a Five Nights at Freddy's game if you didn't do some little devious things like ripping rocks and eyes out, or completely destroying 2 of the animatronics. You know, the usual stuff a child would do. And you want to tell me that pulling the emergency handle and having the chance of a fine would be more expensive? That game also got a free DLC named Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin. Those are 7 words, by the way. And shows how the whole facility is rotting away after years of no one taking care of that place. Ruin is a new story that follows a little girl named Cassie as she searches the crumbling pizzaplex for her friend, Gregory. Dude, Gregory is the devil itself and came from hell judging by all the trolling, bamboozling and skedaddling he is doing. It's a great short DLC and I would recommend it if you already have the Security Breach game, because the DLC is for free.
O cholera, czy to Freddy Fazbear?
Here's the main reason why I had this idea. A movie is going to come out, or is already in theaters when you're watching this video. I do hope that it is good. Please don't fumble the bag with this one. Please, please. If you don't know, all these years since FNAF 1, there was that rumor that there would be a FNAF movie. I can still remember from elementary school, it was a quite popular myth together with the release of GTA 6. Now it's finally here. Have you already seen it? Tell me down in the comments and no spoilers, please. I don't know how much the public will like the movie. Don't trash it, please. I do think that there will be more movies after this one. Okay, it is actually the 29th of October and I've seen the movie. And I recommend it if you have played Five Nights at Freddy's. You have to thank Scott Cawthon for making that franchise and putting a lot of time and effort into these games that have already become real classics. But I think what truly amazed me was his history of being a programmer. He programmed many games and none of them were as successful as this series. Also, the mechanic of just waiting, surviving and clicking was nothing new. He had made games with a similar look already. Look at these robotics, the mess of cables and all. There was already something like that. His inspiration for Five Nights at Freddy's came from one of his older games, Chipper and Son's Lumber Co. The game's visuals were criticized for the characters looking like scary animatronic animals. Scott was heartbroken by the criticism and almost gave up game making entirely. He said to himself that FNAF would be his last project. But luckily, that didn't happen. So listening to that story was really inspiring, and it's a true indomitable human spirit moment. No way you just casually said that. Just to add a fun fact in this video, Scott had nightmares from Bunny from the first game. Like seriously. To resolve this issue, the FNAF 2 Toy Bunny animatronic was designed to be a lot less scary with its more friendly design and less scary jump scare. I sure am fascinated by Scott and his work. I was introduced to FNAF by an old friend of mine, who I don't have contact with anymore. I can remember when the trailer of the second game came out and we were on the edge of our seats just by watching it. But I have to be honest with you viewers at home, I've never played FNAF. Through all of these years I was just a bystander and was watching it with lots and lots of passion. Luckily I understand some lore of the game, because if you're totally new to this franchise, you will have a hard time. I found it amazing how the theories shifted and everyone came to different conclusions. At some point I jumped on the bandwagon of watching MatPat's theories, because making theories for a game is simply not a part of my free time. The success of the franchise in 2014 was also much more rapid than I thought. In August the first game came out, the second one in November, the third one in March 2015 and the fourth one came out in July 2015. Scott made 4 games within 1 year. For me it felt like the games were each 1 year apart from another. After those 4 games I sort of lost interest and didn't watch anything about the next games. After Pizzeria Simulator, my interest was piqued again and I watched all of the playthroughs by Markiplier and Jacksepticeye. And then there was silence. Until December 2021, when Security Breach came out. I watched all of the videos by Markiplier and was back with full knowledge of the franchise again. It's like with Minecraft. You do have those 2 weeks a year when you just simply love the game and play it all day long. I shouldn't forget to mention that we always tried to replicate the first and second game in Minecraft 2. We rebuilt it as well as we could. My brother and I also tried to play it in Little Big Planet. Or lately I've been playing FNAF in Rec Room with my friends. And those fan-made songs are also some of YouTube's most legendary ones. To be honest, I was also really scared of that game and couldn't sleep as a kid. As you can see, FNAF was always a big part of my life. I can say that I'm thankful for having those funny memories with that franchise. Thank you, Scott Cawthon. You created a lot of memories. Not only for me, but for so many people. You can't even imagine that. You were a big part of my childhood and I'm thankful for that. If you do see it, Scott, thank you for letting us experience such good ideas. I'm also thankful to you, viewer at home, who has actually watched the video that far. Whether you've watched this video because you're a real FNAF fan or have no clue about anything concerning Freddy and just watch me to support me, let me know in the comments. What are your experiences with the franchise? Comment it down below. I'm actually really curious. Before letting the rest of the video play, if you have played Animal Crossing, here is a tribute to Animal Crossing. If you want to support me in other ways, I do have a Patreon account and a second channel. Thank you and enjoy the rest. And just an editor's note. Thank you, Jakob. You really corrected everything. Those 7 pages that were just full of errors and fails and... Dude, I'm so thankful that you did that, because it would be a disaster. And he was telling me about that there was an Easter egg in the last page. I found your Easter egg. Is that your Easter egg? Let's appreciate Jacob for actually doing that. And thank you, MatPat and Stephanie, for making those theories, because they were also a part of my childhood. Thank you again.